People paying money to see me in a 20x20 ring.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another brand new edition of the 20x20 Ring Crew. I am your co-host, Joe, and I am always here with my brother, Matt. Matt, what is going on?
Too much is going on. Too much.
We're back. Episode 84 is here, and we're seeing the big dog on the big screen here at 20x20 headquarters. As always, we have wrestling on in the background. We're currently watching the 2019 edition of WWE's Hell in a Cell.
The now infamous.
More, yes. It should be more aptly named Heck in a Cell. Because let's face it, quite honestly, it wasn't completely hell, although it should have been. At least in the ring.
More of like hell in the audience.
Hell in the audience, exactly.
Hell in Sacramento. There's a lot to talk about. There's a ton to talk about. So let's
dive right in.
Let's get into it. We have things to talk about as far as the Wednesday Night Wars. We have things to talk about as far as Friday Night Smackdown, the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. There's a lot to do. I told you after the October 4th edition of Smackdown that be prepared for a rant coming. And that's coming. So let's start with something a little more positive.
Oh,
right?
Sure, yeah.
The power of positivity, if you will. Wednesday night, October 2nd, we finally saw the debut of AEW Dynamite. They went head-to-head with WWE's NXT. They went live, side-by-side. I know Joe didn't watch it side-by-side. I did. I did watch it live. And I'll give you my very quick how I see it.
Sure.
The wrestling, and I'm going to explain why I'm going to say this. As expected, goes to NXT. As far as the wrestling goes.
Okay.
The reason why that is, I'll explain it now. Actually, the NXT did the exact same thing that they did the previous 2 weeks. They went pay-per-view mode. So by saying that, who do I feel wins week one as a whole? Keep in mind, I'm basing this off as a weekly TV show. AEW hands down.
Okay.
And the results, I'm not the only one that feels that way. They destroyed NXT week one. AEW actually only finished second to playoff baseball, by the way.
Yeah.
So, very successful debut for AEW. NXT was good. It was a really good show, but again, it was the same situation. It's a very much showcasing great wrestling, which is what you want to see, but there wasn't a whole lot of storyline purposes, angles going on. It was just match, okay, next, match, okay, next, match, okay, next. It looks good. It looks great, and I've been talking to people all the time that AEW is not going to be able to compete with that kind of NXT, what NXT is doing. And the thing is, like we said 2 weeks ago, NXT is not going to be able to compete with what they're doing right now. It is just too much happening. You can't go this route on a weekly basis.
No,
and that's what they did. They went the interesting route, but it makes sense in hindsight now. They went Matt Riddle versus Adam Cole right away. That makes sense. I mean, you want people right away not watch AEW. You put arguably your best match on first for that reason, or your most hyped match, I should say. As Cody Rhodes fought Sammy Guevara in the opening bout of AEW Dynamite. Ironically, those matches, if you had them side by side, those matches ended at the exact same time.
Wow.
It was really weird how that was booked that way, but it was right at the exact same time. But after that, NXT went straight into the next match, or AEW went into promos.
Sure.
Because again, this is a weekly TV show. They are there to sell you their pay-per-view. Where NXT should be doing that, but they're not. And keep in mind, they have a pay-per-view coming up, not too far from now, just a couple of weeks after AEW's pay-per-view, which is NXT TakeOver Chicago, happening at the Allstate Arena in Rosemont. So they really needed to get the ball rolling, and they kind of have been dropping the ball with that the past 3 weeks by doing pay-per-view. I mean, you got a War Games pay-per-view. Actually, it's not TakeOver Chicago. I'm sorry, it's TakeOver War Games.
Okay.
So it's still called that. So you might want to get started with that, get the ball rolling. Because I don't see there's no direction with where they're going to go for the future after these past 3 weeks of NXT.
I will say this about their approach. I think part of the reason they haven't started advertising for TakeOver War Games, I think it might be that they're counting on it being just a great spot to have a show.
Sure.
And I think they don't really have to worry too much about selling tickets because everybody's excited for it. So, is it smart business? No, I agree with you. I think they should start advertising, involving it in the show somehow.
Yeah. Even
if it's just to mention, like, hey, it's going to be War Games in a couple months or whatever. But interesting to say the least at both AEW and NXT's approaches for being head to head.
Right.
I didn't watch head to head. My daughter and I were all about watching AEW, and I told her, I'm like, we can always catch NXT on the network or Hulu, and we did, but much to my chagrin, I thought the entire time, I'm like, wait a minute, NXT's 2 hours. So we hop on Hulu, 20x20crew.com/podcast/Hulu to find out how you can get a Hulu subscription at a discount. We hopped on Hulu, and NXT was on there, but it was only an hour.
Right.
And so I start watching it, and I had texted you and Mr. Wrestling 6, like, where the hell's the other hour? And you're like, it's definitely a 2-hour show. I don't know what you're watching. And they had like condensed the entire show into an hour, and it went off seamlessly. You couldn't tell that there was anything else in that show. So I was baffled for another day and a half or whatever till I sat down and watched it on the network,
right,
where you got to see it in its entirety. But I don't know what was up with that, but it was finally nice to see NXT in its entirety. Mm-hmm. I agree with you, complete pay-per-view mode. I also agree with you, you can't keep that pace. Either people are going to get burnt out physically, mentally. They're going to run out of ideas.
Yeah,
it's you can't go at that breakneck speed. And what's more ironic about it is after both shows, WWE released an official statement.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up.
And mentioned. And kind of like reminded everybody, like, hey, kudos to them. They had a great night, and we appreciate the rivalry or whatever. But this is a marathon, not a sprint. That's pretty fucking ironic to me because you guys are sprinting, like you haven't stopped sprinting since you started this whole thing. So, and now keep in mind they're 3 weeks into this.
Yeah.
Whereas AEW is only 1 week into it.
Mm-hmm. Because if you go to match 2 for both companies, match 2 for NXT's Io Shirai versus Mia Yim, another good match. Yeah. That goes on the entire time that's going on. One match happens for AEW. It's a less than 3-minute match. It's MJF versus Brandon Cutler. Basically Brandon Cutler jobs for MJF.
Sure.
Which, by the way, he needs a lot of work, by the way.
Who's that, MJF or Cutler?
Cutler. But, you know, they did two things. It was a successful job. It wasn't a squash. It was a squash without being a squash.
Sure.
It wasn't, Braun Strowman fighting some local guy nobody knows, and just doing the same thing for 30 seconds, and that's it. It wasn't a long match, but Brandon Cutler was out there, and he made MJF look really good. MJF made himself look really good, but before that, they gave MJF a mic, and he cut down the crowd. That's character development again.
Yeah.
I mean, that right there, Io Shirai Miyayim didn't do that. They didn't have that. By the time that match ends, you see promos, you see a match, and then you go into a more serious match between Pac and Adam Page, where NXT had a great match, but again, it was they're living for today. They're not living for tomorrow. And that's what the point I'm trying to make. I'm not hating the matches. NXT wins the matches this week, but that's kind of not the point. The point is to deliver a full package show, which again they were doing before they went on the USA Network. I don't know why they decided to change the formula now. I know why, but I don't know why. At the same time,
yeah,
this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's pretty unfortunate too because if they continue this, if they continue that pace, they're going to run into a wall very quickly, and they're not going to know how to dig themselves out of that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny you mentioned character development. You have, Adam Cole. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, but Adam Cole retains against Matt Riddle. Mm-hmm. And then Finn Balor's music hits, and Finn Balor announces he's back on the NXT roster. Yeah, which is kudos to you guys, by the way. I'm glad that happens because it isn't often we hear of a WWE talent getting their way. Mm-hmm. But here he was, he needed a couple month break because he was burnt out and he was unhappy and he wanted to go back to NXT, and they're absolutely letting him. So, congrats to Finn Balor on that happening. I'm excited at the prospect of him being there. Right. But there was no their idea of character development with that or storyline development with that was Adam Cole's doing an interview backstage, and the rest of Undisputed Era come in. And they're like, "What's up with that Finn Balor?" And he's like, "Fuck Finn Balor! Like, I don't need this shit right now. We need to focus and keep the prophecy fulfilled." And that was it. Mm-hmm. Like literally, maybe 2 minutes tops out of that entire situation. Yep. Nothing was said to Balor in the ring. Like he just came in. He said, "Hey, I'm NXT now," and they stared each other down, and that was it. And I get it. That could be story development too, but it's not strong story development. No. You could have easily utilized that time a lot better. Even if they were just jawing at each other without mics, mm-hmm. I think that would have went over better than him staring at him. Yeah.
Again, it was more or less just pay-per-view style matches, no character development, and it just a lot of missed opportunities. A whole lot of missed opportunities there. AEW was good. It was a solid debut. I wouldn't call it perfect. They took a real risk at that main event, I thought, with the Jon Moxley Kenny Omega situation. I'm not a fan of ever taking eyes off of the actual wrestling match. So I mean, it's not like an A+ for AEW either. I could have gone without the excessive use of Chris Jericho in the night because he was there quite a bit.
He was.
We get it. He did the bit with Cody in the beginning, and at the end of the first match, Cody beats Sammy Guevara, and then of course the main event is Chris Jericho, Ortiz, and Santana versus Omega and the Bucks. Omega's taken out of the match by Jon Moxley. It's a cool bit, but it's still a risky bit. To me, I'm watching live, you know, and I'm saying, you know, to I'm watching it with, it's like, how hard was it for them to go side by side?
Yeah.
You know, do a play-by...
Because they were doing that all night anyway with the commercials.
Yeah.
You know?
Show me what's happening with Moxley and Omega, but don't take eyes off the match, because I wonder, is the match being wrestled like it's in commercial break? And if that's the case, that's really shitty.
Yeah.
Because this is your main event. You know, this is, you know, until TV time, which is old school saying.
Yeah.
And, like, they should just go all out. Go completely balls to the wall here and really end the show, because you are going up against NXT's main event, which is Undisputed Era versus Street Profits, and that was a really good fucking match.
It was a really good match.
And so I felt that they dropped the ball with that, because here's where, and yeah, I'm going to sound like I'm jumping a bit, but they went too much storyline development here and not enough wrestling match. You still could have did what you did with Jake Hager coming out at the end and that beatdown, but it didn't have to be as excessive. It didn't have to go, you know, as stretched out and as long as it was, and the match didn't have to suffer because of it, because the match was an okay match, and that right there, with the exception of Chris Jericho, who is no longer in his prime, and that's why I'm saying it. I'm not trying to be mean to Jericho. You have 5 guys. Oh, let's take Omega out too, 'cause he's not in there. You have 4 guys, 4 solid, you know, two solid tag teams that really can tear the house down.
Yeah,
and they should have, and they didn't. So, as far as AEW complete show, if I had to give it a grade, I'd give AEW an A- total. NXT would be a B or B plus. It's close.
Yeah, it's very close.
It's close. I mean, NXT was not bad by any means.
No.
It's just long term. I'm basing the grade. That's part of my grading scale here. What are you going to do for next week? Because now I have no idea. Right? You know, at least with this, okay, you have follow up with what's going to happen with Jericho and Cody, and that situation. What's Jake Hager doing there? What's, you know, all that in that situation. You know, you got shit with MJF. Sammy Guevara has stepped up, and he's shown himself to be. He's escalated himself as a top heel currently right now within the company. You had the issue with Riho, who is the inaugural AEW Women's World Champion. But that wasn't all there. Nyla Rose didn't take kindly to that. She attacked her after the match. You know, so what's going to happen with that? You know, on top of the other talent that we still are yet to see.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions. What's going to happen next? Where NXT is, you have Finn Balor, and really that's it. You know, so it's like, where do you go from there? I mean, they do have the announced match. I believe it's happening. Kushida versus Walter.
Yeah, that definitely got announced.
That's happening. But other than that, it's, you know, what are they going to do next? And that's kind of what we're talking about here. You have. I'm not saying you need to announce your whole fucking card for next week or anything like that matter. But you need to kind of develop a little bit more than that, because, you know, you're trying to also sell next week's show too.
It's again, I liked both shows. You know, I'm not going to sit here and grade them.
Sure.
I don't grade or star.
Okay.
I'm not that type of person. But I agree with what you said, and but it's all good or bad. It's still all very interesting to me, because I think at this point NXT already has a loose picture of what they're up against now this week.
Yeah.
Or you know, this past week.
Yeah.
As this episode airs, but they already know ahead of time that at least part of the show for AEW is going to be tag team matches focused on that tournament.
Yes, that's happening. Yep.
That approach is always going to be interesting to me, because you know it's kind of like giving your card away to an extent. But you're right, NXT hasn't really, other than the Walter and Kushida match, at this point hasn't really said anything else of what they're going to do for that show as we record this, obviously, because once you hear this, it will have already happened. So, but I'm definitely interested.
Yes.
I'm still not. I still don't like the idea of watching it side by side for me personally, because I'm at that age where I'm like too enthralled.
Sure.
I'll sit and like I wouldn't be able to focus like I want to focus.
Right.
So.
Real quick here too, you brought it to my attention before we went on air. I just want to announce too that AEW essentially has a second wrestling show. It's called AEW Dark.
Yes.
What it is, it's a tape show. It's not live. It's a tape show of all the dark matches that happened during the taping of AEW Dynamite, which of course is live. That's going to debut right before Dynamite now.
I believe so. Yes.
So the October, because I hear it says October 8th.
Yeah.
But if that's before Dynamite, it'll be October 9th for the actual taping for Dynamite.
Sure.
Either way, check out AEW's Facebook page, youtube.com. I said Facebook, I'm sorry. Check out AEW's YouTube page, youtube.com. And this is a quick example of what you're going to get. So, for those who are saying, how the hell are they going to put that entire roster on this 2-hour show? They're not. But they do have something you can watch besides that. And this is just we're not going to run down a card. I'm just going to announce the card, what you're going to get for episode 1 of AEW Dark. Again, this was taped the same day of the inaugural show from Washington, D.C. Darby Allin versus Shima.
Yeah, that
Holy fuck.
Right?
Okay. Angelico, Jack Evans, and the Lucha Brothers versus Best Friends and Private Party, 8-man tag.
Fuck.
Yeah. Allie and Britt Baker versus B. Presley and Penelope Ford in a tag team match. Another solid match there.
Yeah, especially because they got real heat with each other.
Mm-hmm. And SCU versus Jurassic Express in a 6-man tag is the main event.
Nice.
So, good solid matches. And you know what? Here's the thing, too. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. But knowing AEW, they're going to, even if it's just Tony Schiavone doing commentary himself, they're going to tell you stories. They're going to fill you in. Yeah, they're going to keep the ball rolling with all these guys.
It's got to be something close to what that countdown show was before the first episode.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense.
This is good. This is good for them, and this is another way to promote your card. And you got this big ass fucking roster. This is what you do. I mean, promote. Look at that 8-man tag team match. All those tag teams are in your tournament.
Yeah,
promoting the tournament. Oh my god,
it's like having a preview match like New Japan does.
Yes,
and that's something that's so it's easy marketing.
Yeah,
I don't understand why more organizations don't do it.
Yeah, SCU and Jurassic Express. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jurassic Express I believe is also in the tournament. Or they are. Uh-huh. SCU is. It was announced too on Dynamite. That Scorpio Sky sitting out.
Yeah, the Jurassic Express, they're essentially like the Freebird team.
Yeah.
So it's there's going to be weeks where you see a boy and his dinosaur, which is Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
And then you're going to see, I forget what they named the other part of that, or the other combination, but
okay.
They're all loosely referred to as the Jurassic Express because obviously the third member here is Mr. Fun Size himself, Marco Stunt.
I'm excited. I'm excited that they did that. This is brand new to me as we started recording. I think anybody that's a fan of AEW, you definitely need to check it out. YouTube. Obviously, I don't need to promote YouTube there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, and then Darby Allin versus Shima. Holy fuck.
Yeah, that was the one immediately after the show ended. I had got on social media and I was checking stuff out, and someone had hipped that match to me, and they're like, "Man, this is a shame that you guys didn't get to see this." And it was just a still photo of them two in the ring, and I'm like, "Oh my fucking god!" Like, what I wouldn't give to watch that match, and now I get to.
Now you get to.
So,
absolutely. AEW Dark, by the way, it is going to be on Tuesday nights.
Yes.
So interesting. This is getting away of anything happening. What's already happening on Tuesday nights. We know that on the 8th, the same day as AEW Dark is being premiered, NWA Powerrr is premiering. That's actually they got a 6:05 Eastern start time. No coincidence there. And then also keep in mind, on October 29th, you have the debut of Impact Wrestling. That's happening on Tuesday night. So Tuesday night just got even bigger. Even though this is a tape, they're all tape shows, actually.
I got a lot of fucking wrestling to watch, man.
This is every week.
Every fucking week.
Every single week. This Charlie Caruso guy, every time that I see her, her lips get bigger. I was like, chill out, man. Chill out.
My daughter and I, like, we'll do this thing where, like, you know, you're the WWE Network, or no, you're a Hell in a Cell. We'll do that back and forth, right?
Okay.
So Charlie Caruso comes on the screen, and without skipping a beat, my daughter's like, "You're Charlie Caruso's fake lips," and I fucking lost it. But you're right. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the gloss, the lip gloss.
I hope
that
it's
she
just
uses,
I hope it's just the lip shit.
I mean,
she's
clearly
not,
she's had work done.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
not do any more though, Charlie.
But yeah, man.
Get with it, Charlie. It is premiering. Looks like they are going on. Looks like they're being nice and going on after NWA is.
NWA,
because NWA be 5:05 Eastern. They're going on the hour after they are done, 6 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern.
Either way, I'm excited.
I mean, it doesn't really matter when you watch it. You can watch it whenever you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, NWA Powerrr, Impact Wrestling, AEW Dark. These and again, I saw on Cage Match. Thank you guys at Cage Match. They always put up the announce team. It is Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur. So it's the same announce team.
Beautiful thing, man.
So
absolutely,
it's like
beautiful.
watching 2 episodes of AEW in 1 week. And again, not only that, and I don't think we need to worry about this, but they're going to promote the following day's live edition of
Which
AEW, as they should, as well as the pay-per-view. Having multiple shows, especially how they're doing it, because it's not extra travel, it's not extra booking. You're already there live. It's just smart. It's just smart.
Very smart.
For people who are still saying AEW is still a joke, because I've been getting beat up all week because it's too much Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho shouldn't be the champion. And look, we agree. We said that on the show. They made the wrong choice. I'm picking Chris Jericho as their inaugural champion. But let's not get things twisted here, okay? Chris Jericho is not fucking Hulk Hogan. Chris Jericho is not Kevin Nash. Chris Jericho is not going to hold on to that title and keep it hostage. He's not Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Chris Jericho is going to fucking show up. Chris Jericho is going to get other people over. Because Chris Jericho actually respects and loves the fucking business. So for anybody that has a problem with Chris Jericho being champion, that's fine. But for anybody that's saying that he is bad for business because he's just an old man clutching on to a spotlight, you're a fucking moron, and you don't need to fucking listen to the show.
I actually had a little exchange at the movie theater.
Oh shit!
Saturday night with a WWE mark.
So you had an interaction with the Joker while you saw Joker.
Yes.
Okay.
My wife and I went to go see Joker, and right before the movie started, I went to use the facilities.
Okay.
And I happened to see this kid. I call everybody kid. He must have been like 20.
Okay.
He had an AEW Letterman jacket on. Really nice jacket, by the way.
Okay.
And I see him, and so I start chanting, AE-Dub, AE-Dub. And he comes over to me, and we shake hands, and I'm like, hey, that's this cool jacket, whatever. And his dad was with him, and his dad's like, you don't need to watch that bullshit. You need to watch real wrestling. And he mentioned the WWE. And I just looked at him, and I go, sir, all due respect, 2 words, Brock Lesnar. And then I'm like, I started to walk away. And he's like, oh, man, come on, just doing one of those things. And I stop in my tracks, and I go, give me a minute. I'm going to go drop Brock Lesnar off in the bathroom, and then I'll come back. And his kid lost it. He was dying. But yeah, for those of you who think it's a joke, hey, I'm sorry. I completely disagree with you. And it's okay to be a fan of the WWE. Matt and I sit here week after week, like hoping they get their shit together, and they just keep they just keep shooting themselves in the foot, man. I really don't get it.
So, I have to. I mean, you mentioned Brock Lesnar. We're sticking with WWE right now.
Sure.
Shall we dive into it?
I think we should, man. You know, we don't have to beat a dead horse, but I just think from I'm gonna talk about it in a very specific perspective, and it involves Kofi Kingston more than it does Brock Lesnar. You don't take and put Kofi Kingston through the ringer, like literally through the ringer, with all these like fucked up gauntlet matches and things of that nature, just so that he could win the title. Don't get me wrong, he kept it for quite a while,
sure,
relatively speaking. But
about a 6-month reign.
Yeah, but you don't take all of that momentum that you had with that champion and put him in a match that lasted, what, 35 seconds tops? Way less?
Less than 10 seconds.
Less than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You don't do that. And then you know, you and I were talking about this before we started recording. And it's almost immediately they erase him. Like, fuck Kofi Kingston. Now it's just Lesnar and Cain Velasquez. What are you doing? Like, how is that healthy for your product? I don't understand it at all. I really don't. And I get part of it was probably because they were running out of television time. But that aside, you don't, you know, taking time out of SmackDown throughout the night and showing, you know, highlights of Kofi's title reigns. Right. You don't do. That's not how you make up for what you're about to do to him later on in the evening. It doesn't even out. It doesn't. There's no. It's not a receipt. It's no kind of payback. It's just handled completely wrong.
Yeah. So again, you know, October 4th edition of SmackDown happens. There's her debut on Fox. I had to give a little bit of backstory to it. I mean, it was one of those episodes of SmackDown where it's a special episode. Okay, they advertised the ladder match between Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon. Surprisingly, Kevin Owens wins that match.
Yeah, I thought they were going to go the route where Owens loses and then he shows up on NXT.
Right? Which I guess technically could still happen, but it was as expected. It wasn't. This was not a crazy good ladder match because, you know, Shane McMahon's going to do high spots, but just because he jumps off shit doesn't mean he looks good doing it. But anyways,
tell me how you really feel, man.
Oh, and Michael Cole, by the way, he called the coast to coast. It's a patented and created by Shane McMahon. Because nobody ever did it before. Shane McMahon. By the way, Shane McMahon also Michael Cole also called a spinning heel kick a big boot.
A big boot.
Because that's the exact same thing. Anyway, you know, they went. I wouldn't call it pay-per-view mode, or if it was, this was definitely WWE's version of pay-per-view mode. But they went match after match after match. I mean, 2-hour show. Keep in mind, it was 2 hours. There's no. You know, going over, you know how Raw it goes to 10:05 Central Time, and NXT now goes to 9:05 Central Time. It's 9 o'clock Central Time. That's when it's over. News is next. That's just how it is. So you have 2 hours plus, you know, minus commercials. So usually you get 3 to 4 matches on an episode of SmackDown. They went 6 matches on here, you know, and there was some good stuff on there. The opening tag team match between Becky Lynch and Charlotte versus Bayley and Sasha Banks. Good, solid tag team match. Good way to advertise the upcoming Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. You know, the ladder match and things of that nature. The couple things here. The Reigns and Rowan match, which went on second to last.
Sure.
It's a lumberjack match.
Lumberjack match, right?
That went on about 20-22-9.
Sure.
So you have 20 minutes left, and I'm thinking to myself, they got 2 matches they have to do in 20 minutes. I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. The Reigns and Rowan match, it went a little longer than it probably should have. And then not only that, but like they did more beatdowns of Roman Reigns by my friend Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. It went on too long, and I think it was built that way. Actually, now looking at it now, I know it was built that way. And I'm thinking to myself, by the time they go into the final commercial break, it's now 9 till. Now look, I get it's Brock Lesnar. I get, he's not known for wrestling long matches because he can't, and he shouldn't be wrestling any matches. But you still got to do entrances. You still got to do the introductions of the competitors. I said it before the match started, and you call it right away the same the way I did when they did that. Kofi got announced first, generally a bad sign.
Yeah, that's usually a bad sign.
And then the bell rings, and Kofi literally sprints to Brock Lesnar and jumps on his shoulders, and then gets F5s. Here's my thing. You want to be real. That's the thing. Like, Fox is building this, we need to be real. Who in their right mind, if your opponent, who's bigger than you, by the way,
yeah,
whose finishing move involves a fireman's carry, who the fuck would jump on their shoulders? Other than the fact that you're there to just get knocked out in 5 to 10 seconds. And that's exactly what happened. And you're right. That's the thing. You completely erase everything that he's done. And I'm glad you sped it up for me, because I don't have to now go live through it again. But you erase Kofi Kingston. You show the highlight of the match. You show the entire match again, so you got to see the match twice. You're welcome for that, WWE Universe. You see this travesty of a match twice. And then after that, Kofi Kingston, get the fuck out of my ring.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Thanks for 6 months of busting your ass and having the best matches at within the entire company, minus NXT, I would say.
Sure.
Thank you for all that, but now get the hell out of here. You want to know why? Because we just signed Cain Velasquez, a guy who has no wrestling background whatsoever, besides what he did in MMA.
Yeah.
Who is wearing a fucking knee brace. So he's not even 100%.
Yeah.
And who is flabby as shit. Thanks for getting in shape for this. You knew this was going to happen. Thanks for getting in shape. And this is what we're building up to now. This is what we're building up to, Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez. My question to everybody that out there that loves this. Okay, so here's the thing. I've stayed away from a lot of the WWE marks, those pages I used to talk about.
Sure.
I stayed away because it was the same regurgitated shit over and over again. And it just got to a point where I got more out of talking to the wall than I did talking to them. But I was interested to see what they had to say about this. And same regurgitated shit. They did this because it makes 100. This is according to them. It makes 100% sense to do this, because you're getting all those casual fans. Same thing with Ronda Rousey. Casual fans means more money. Even if that's the case, I'm going to rewind a little bit, okay?
Okay.
8-man tag team match. It was the third to last match. It was Strowman, Heavy Machinery, and The Miz versus AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, Randy Orton, and Robert Roode. Nothing special about it. I think Strowman's team wins. What happens in that match... Tyson Fury, for those who don't know who Tyson Fury is, he is a boxer. I think he's a heavyweight, right?
He's heavyweight.
Okay, he's a tall dude. I don't know if he's a current champion. I haven't really followed.
He's the lineal heavyweight champion.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't really followed boxing in quite some time, but I know who he is. Big name, too. He's in the front row. Braun Strowman, he's beating up somebody. He does that spiel where he runs around the ring and does the shoulder blocks or shoulder tackles, whatever. And then he does, he puts up his fist to Tyson Fury, and they're smiling at first, like it's no big deal. And then I think Strowman throws somebody, I think it was Ziggler, into Fury, and Fury eventually jumps the barricade, and there's this whole spiel. Okay, we got Strowman versus Fury. You know why I didn't hate that? I mean, I'm not jumping for joy for that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of celebrity
but it
matches.
was a solid segment.
Solid segment, and you know why it works for me? Because they didn't strip a title from somebody to do it.
Yeah.
So why did they have to do that with Kofi Kingston, the WWE Championship? Why the fuck does Cain Velasquez need to come to WWE and get a shot at the WWE Championship? What fucking sense does that make? And yeah, if this is your way to bring in casual fucking retards to come watch your product, that's fine. But guess what? Those casual fucking retards are gonna fucking come to your product with or without the championship.
Yeah, it could have easily happened without that belt.
So why would you disrespect a man who has meant so much to that title and do that to him? It's not even about the fact that he lost. All championship reigns come to an end.
Yeah.
You don't want to see it happen in 10 seconds or less, but all championship reigns come to an end. And even if he had lost to Lesnar, it would have really, really fucking sucked. But I wouldn't be this furious about it. I'm furious because your way of bringing in casual fans is stripping him of everything that he's accomplished so you can give it to a guy who's wrestled 2 matches in his entire career. Who you give it to a guy who's not even in good shape. Yeah. We're all about bodies and shapes in WWE. The man's wearing a fucking knee brace. Yeah. He was walking with a limp. And on top of that, it wasn't even just that. Like, Rey Mysterio looked like a fucking goof next to him, and because it's just like, hey, this guy beat me up. I'm a trained professional wrestler, but you fight him for me because I can't do it. It's an absolute fucking insult, and I had wished that same crowd at Staples Center would have had the same amount of balls that the crowd at fucking Sacramento had,
yeah.
And started chanting for the rival company, because this is what you get. This is the things you get. The first thing that was said out of my friend's mouth I was watching with was, he just needs to go to AEW. He doesn't need that. He doesn't deserve that kind of treatment.
I'll correct that statement a little bit, because I don't necessarily agree with that, but he needs to go somewhere else.
Anywhere else.
That much I agree with. Yeah. If this is your master plan to make your product more real, and so you involve the title between 2 MMA guys in a professional wrestling company, it really does shit on your entire roster, because they're all professional wrestlers,
Yeah.
And all it's telling you is like, hey, we don't fucking really respect the shit out of you anymore, because we're going to promote this as real, or we want it to be more realistic. So because you're not an MMA persona, or you've never been, or whatever, like, you automatically now are a second-class citizen on this roster.
Right.
And that's horseshit. It's complete and utter horseshit. And they're you WWE marks who love this whole approach of, like, bring in all the casual fans and make all that money. Killing all that momentum with your champion is one of the worst things you can do in any organization when it comes to professional wrestling. So, on that note, we're going to take a break, pay some bills, and we promise you that we're not going to shit on our champion while we're away. We have Hell in a Cell 2019 on the big screen, and so I'm done ranting about WWE and all their bullshit moves, and Kofi Kingston, I hope you can buy yourself out of your contract.
ROH.
Yeah. Oh man, I would love that. But yeah, stay tuned. We're gonna go pay some bills. We'll be back.
This episode of the 20x20 Ring Crew is brought to you by GameStop. GameStop, where you can buy new and used video games, consoles, and accessories. Got games you no longer play? Trade them in for cash or credit towards a new game to add to your collection. Become a pro member and save even more money on your purchases, trade-ins, and even get special offers not available to everyone else. If games aren't your thing, GameStop has a wide range of toys, apparel, board games, and other collectibles, including pop vinyls, including exclusives not sold anywhere else. Visit us at 20x20crew.com/podcast/GameStop to find out how you can get started. And remember, power to the play.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thank you again for hanging in there with us while we paid some bills. Hopefully, you have found a sponsor to visit through us and check out some deals and some new content and like so. As always, thank you again for all of your support. Very, very much appreciated. Again, as always, we have wrestling on the background. We are currently watching the Women's Championship Tag Team match from Hell in a Cell WWE between Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross taking on the Kabuki Warriors in Asuka and Kairi Sane. Pretty interesting match, pretty solid match. As I was telling Matt here, there's a spot where Kairi Sane does her little crazy little walk from corner to corner, and she happens to, I believe it's Nikki Cross. She does the old Three Stooges double poke in the eye, and it came across as no pun intended that Nikki Cross did not see it coming at all, and it made for that much more hilarity. I was dying. But enough about WWE. If you listen to the first half of the show, thank you as always. But it's time to switch gears, man. You can only talk about so many mistakes with that company.
I mean, this is the same company that stopped the match, a Hell in a Cell match, because of excessive use of weapons, apparently.
Oh, that was terrible.
We don't need to talk about that, but this is what we're talking about here. You can if you want.
I'll pose a simple question here for all you WWE marks. I would really like to know how you guys feel. How do you feel? You have a Hell in a Cell match. Anything goes. Quote unquote, anything goes. It comes down to Seth Rollins using a sledgehammer on the Fiend Bray Wyatt. But the moment he does that, everything else he used, there's chairs, there's ladders, there's tools, a toolbox. Bray Wyatt used that big mallet he has on his kids show. He used that. All that was well and good, but the moment a sledgehammer gets introduced and used on Bray Wyatt, that is a disqualification in an anything goes Hell in a Cell match. If you were using that to further your storyline with this, it came across horrible. So I told Matt before we started recording, Seth Rollins is a horrible actor. He is a horrible actor. So by that logic, he'll probably be in the next Marine sequel.
Marine 27.
Yeah. But the fans in Sacramento, I really do feel sorry for you guys, for anybody who paid for a ticket to be there and have to go through that shit. Matt, you and I were looking at some of the fan posted videos of just how hostile the crowd got and how they wouldn't leave the arena. They wanted a refund. AEW chants galore. It was fucking crazy.
You never want the competition to gain an upper hand on you by not even competing that night. you just don't want that. And here's the thing: as stupid as that ending was, that still could have been salvaged by match placement.
Yeah.
You go look at your two Hell in a Cell matches: Seth Rollins versus The Fiend, Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks. I'm not even going to say which one was better, because of which one's better, because the women's match was much better. But the reason why the women's match should have been the main event is because that was your most hostile rivalry.
Well, you know what, too, thinking about it, there's another thing that is much more common sense laden here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember years ago when they would have cage matches and shit, it was such an ordeal to set the cage up that, like, you knew once they set the cage up, whatever cage matches they had on the card were going to happen back to back to back.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to have to fucking take the cage apart or move it or what have you.
Yeah.
They could have easily did that here on Hell in a Cell and put either Banks and Becky Lynch on second to last or last. And then they just kept the cage down for the other match. Instead of having to, to fuck with it. But that would have saved them a bunch of heartache, man. Let me tell you. Because the end of that match, the end of that Rollins and Bray Wyatt match was fucking horrible. Absolutely horrible.
And the thing is, too, I don't watch a lot of... It's so ironic that the following day, I'm flipping... Actually, I don't really flip channels anymore because of PlayStation View, but I happen to just accidentally hit the select button on CNBC. I don't watch CNBC.
Okay.
I'm not big in the stock market and shit like that. But Mad Money was on.
Oh, with Jim Cramer.
Yeah. And they were talking about Costco's... I'm not going to go into extreme detail here, but Costco apparently they had a really good quarter, and against everybody's better judgment, and like the Costco's CEO. This right here applies to WWE, not just what happened on Sunday, Hell in a Cell, but the October 4th edition of SmackDown, as well as many of the fucking things they've been doing. Costco CEO, the numbers have been up. And he's like, it's really kind of common sense. When you give customers what they want, they tend to buy more.
No.
It's like,
holy shit.
I'm like, why is this fucking news? Why are people surprised by this? Okay, so you thought that this was going to be a good thing. You thought this was going to go over well, and it didn't. As a booker, if you have a hostile, I'm asking you personally now.
Okay.
Joe, if you have a show and you have a plan for something and it completely goes up in smoke, and you got a crowd that is yelling bullshit and that they want refund,
restart the match.
What are you doing as a booker? Are you saying, you know what, fuck it, keep doing it, and then everyone come back and fuck them because the show's over, or do you try to make it right, or is there enough time? Was what WWE did okay? Was that the right thing to do? At this point, because I don't know how much time they have left in the venue. I know it's the WWE Network, so they have all the time in the world on the network. But what do you do in the situation?
This should be common sense, but here's where I show you exactly that I've watched way too much fucking wrestling in my lifetime.
Okay.
Here's what you do exactly. Okay. So clearly, by the way the fans are reacting, you have booked this completely shitty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And no, at this point in the situation, guess what? Time is not a factor. I say that because they could have easily restarted the match.
That's the first thing they could have done.
And I don't mean even in an official sense. I mean literally just have them keep going at it.
Yeah.
But what they chose to do was let Seth Rollins be taken down by a mandible claw, and that ended all the altercation there. He's like spitting up blood and like half puking, whatever. But they should have let them go back at it, because it would not have ruined any of Bray Wyatt's heat. It would have continued, because if anybody ruined any kind of heat and made bad heat, it was Seth Rollins.
Okay.
Bray Wyatt didn't do it. Bray Wyatt did his job. Seth Rollins fucked this up. And that however the match was produced, fucked this up. But time goes out the window. Time no longer exists, because regardless of whether you're on a network or pay-per-view or what have you, you restart that, let them keep going at it, and guess what? You go off air. So now you have a moment of redemption, possibly, for your pay-per-view audience, your television audience, your network audience. We're like, holy shit, wait a minute, I didn't get to see what happened. Now you're excited, like, what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? We live in the day and age of social media. Someone would have eventually posted, whatever happened after they went off the air.
Okay.
You want that. You want that kind of attraction. So there's your opportunity to come back and make something happen that was much more interesting than the way that fucking match ended. Mm-hmm. And also, it should be common sense too. You don't book a match and call it anything goes and put it in this fucking indestructible cell. And what stops the match? A fucking sledgehammer. Are you fucking kidding me? He had a toolbox full of different tools, fucking screwdrivers, and fucking box cutters and wrenches. All these dangerous weapons, much more dangerous than a fucking
sounds like a fucking
sledgehammer.
New Jack match.
Yeah, much more dangerous than a fucking sledgehammer.
Oh boy!
And you stop it for that reason? That was complete and utter horseshit. So that's my advice. That's what I would have did. I would have restarted it somehow, even if it was in an unofficial manner. Mm-hmm. Let them go at it. Let them go off the air so that you're sitting there puzzled as to what happens. Let social media do its thing, and people show you what happened. Because at this point, you're garnering that interest back. You're taking it back.
Yeah.
And you could have done something with Monday Night Raw or what have you the next night.
Anytime you go live, I think it goes without saying. I mean, things don't always go as planned.
It's an easy one, bro.
Yeah.
It's so easy. You know how many times I watched that growing up with NWA? Like, oh, we're out of time. Like, what's fucking happening? Tell me what's happening.
And you had to wait a week.
And and I had to wait a week.
You had to wait a week, so...
I'm excited now. Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, this is really not hard.
No, man, it shouldn't be.
It really they could have taken a really big fucking mess and take their own shit and turn it into successful manure and grow something out of it. And they didn't do that. They stayed the course. God damn it, stay the course. And it just kept getting stinking more and more and more. And you have a crowd that didn't want to leave, but not because it was good, because they were so goddamn pissed off that they were demanding something else or their fucking money back. That is a dangerous game you're fucking playing.
It is.
And
I've seen bad shit happen after shows, after WWE shows.
Yeah.
In the parking lot. So, like, you really don't want to test those waters unless you absolutely have to.
And I was saying, I wouldn't be surprised if they had told their talent, like, pretty much lay low for a bit.
Yeah, lay low, stay in the back, don't go out.
Don't go out. Nobody's going to fucking any restaurants, any bars in Sacramento. Like, you're just getting the fuck out of Dodge, and that's it. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that that's what they decided to do to their paying customers, both those who bought a ticket to be at the show, and for those that watched it and wasted their fucking time on the WWE Network. God, it was. It's just not good business. But
you digress.
I digress. Yeah. I got sidetracked by watching the fucking bullshit from that Smackdown. Of course, they're shoving it down my throat. Shoving it down my throat is just bullshit. But yeah, the last thing I want to say about WWE real quick here. This is again taking 20 steps backwards. And it's not just AEW. AEW is again, they are on the forefront because they have the money, they have TNT, they have all that momentum, but it's just wrestling as a whole. There's so many other wrestling companies that are vying for your audience, WWE, and they're being successful at it. And for everyone that says, oh, WWE's not going anywhere, WWE's not going anywhere, you keep doing shit like this.
And
Trust me.
And you will go somewhere.
You're going somewhere. The mighty fall, and it's happened so many times throughout history. I really don't know why WWE is exempt, because in reality they're not. It's like, going back to what CM Punk once said now 8 years ago. He's a millionaire that should be a billionaire. And the fact that he's not is his fault. Plain and simple. Because he does not know how to take care of his customers. He's all about ad dollars. He's all about the shareholders. And I get that. I don't know exactly how that shit works, 100%, but I get that. But just like anything else in society, it's the majority rules. And even though, the general fan doesn't have as much money as those ad dollars or those shareholders may have, let me tell you something. When they stop buying T-shirts, when they stop buying tickets, when they stop subscribing to the WWE Network, when they stop buying all the fucking merchandise, guess what? Those shareholders go away. Those ad dollars get less and less. You don't instead of having these crazy fucking ad companies that are wanting to use your network to your time slot to advertise for you and sponsor your fucking pay-per-views and all this shit. You're going to have to find just anybody to do it because it's just you lose that. Because why do they want to spend money to advertise for a show that less people are watching? When they can they can give Tony Khan a call and see what he's offering, what they as far as to advertise for his company. Don't be that stupid. Don't be that naive because it can happen to anybody, and it has throughout history.
But enough about the WWE and all their fucking bullshit. Let's get back to talking about good wrestling. Good booking, mind you, from yours truly, Matt and Joe. I'm talking about the inaugural Good Brothers Tag Team Tournament. If you haven't caught us on social media, please do so. We have posted blank downloadable brackets for you to sit in fantasy book with us. So I'm excited. Because I know you and I, the moment we started putting this thing together, we had come on the show and we both said, hey, we just kind of like shot off of our hip, and we're just coming up with whatever name we could come up with right away, as opposed to doing super in-depth research. That was part of the fun in it.
Yeah. Because
it was pretty cool to see what you and I could recall right off the top of our head as either Real Brothers or Kayfabe Brothers. Mm-hmm. And we went with that list. There's not a whole lot of Japanese or Mexican tag teams, and it wasn't done on purpose, but that's where you, the fans, come in. I'm sure someone's going to call us out for not including this team or that team, but that's what those brackets are for, ladies and gentlemen. Take your time, fill out the brackets, hit us up on social media. We'll let you know at the end of the show where we're at, if you don't already know. And I'm excited. And with that being said, unless you have something else to add, we're going to get to it.
Yeah, no.
All right, let's do it. So we're going to start off the first round. Again, 32 teams. Some real, some kayfabe brothers, but all brothers nonetheless. And we're going to start off with the... by the way, I just took all 32 slots, threw them in a random number generator, random sequence generator, courtesy of random.org. Thank you guys and all the staff there at random.org. And put them into the generator, and it came up with our seeds. So you're not going to get like 1 versus 32, 2 versus 31.
Sure.
It's going to be completely random. With that being said, the 21st seed in Arn and Ole Anderson are going to take on the 19th seed in the Hart Foundation.
Which version?
You know what? We didn't. Oh, it's the non-original version.
Okay. So Arn and Ole.
Arn and Ole
versus Owen and
Bulldog. And you and I were talking about Arn and Ole. You had asked me, like, were they ever brothers? It actually came up on Arn Anderson's podcast. Mm-hmm. It's brand new. I think he's like 3 episodes in now. And he said it himself, exactly what I said. It all depended on like the week and like the like who you talk to. And he said it got to the point where everybody was just coming up to him because they looked so alike. That's what helped a lot. They looked so alike, and they would just come up to him, and it was one of those. I think he put it like the fans didn't care, but they cared. Like they didn't care that they were real brothers necessarily. But they cared about the story. You know, they made them care about the story. So he would get asked by not just fans, by the way, but also other talent. Like, hey, how's your brother doing? You know, all the time. And he's like, yeah, that was just kind of a thing.
That's cool.
So what do you have to say? Arn and Ole Anderson taking on the non-original Hart Foundation of British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and Owen Hart.
Intriguing match. Owen Hart is in my opinion, the wild card in this one because first of all, you know, just see Owen and Arn in that ring together.
That would be dude.
Hell of a some spots there, some good wrestling there. No, with all due respect to their partners. Yeah, this is a good first round match. I one of those things that you never think about ever seeing.
No, not at all.
even fantasy booking is just something that just wouldn't come up a lot. But to see Arn and Ole team up one more time, or maybe more, would be definitely cool. Even though Ole's a douchebag.
Ole is definitely a douchebag. Even Arn Anderson says it on the podcast. Like, very few people got along with Ole, including all the members of the Horsemen. Like, just kind of tolerated him, you know. Moving on, we have the 26th seed in the Godwins taking on the number 4 seed in the Young Bucks.
All right. This is definitely a clash of styles here.
Yeah, you said it. Oh, good Lord.
It's going to be interesting to see how we call this one because, you know, can the Godwins handle the very fast-paced style of the Young Bucks? We'll find out if it's not obvious to you.
It just makes you think, like, if you had you know, similar talent back then, like 1, 2, 3 Kid or you know, talent along those lines, able to like really kick it up a notch and do what they could do without any watering down back then, like, would we be talking about the cruiserweights and similar talent like the way we do now? Or like how much more relevant would they be?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it would have changed the landscape of that quite a lot.
You're right, absolutely.
You know? Moving on, we have the 29th seed in Jimmy and Ron Garvin taking on the 15th seed in Mad Dog and Butcher Vachon. This one actually, this is probably one of the few legit old school matches that we have, and it would be interesting because, and if anybody knows anything about this match, you have Ronnie Garvin, who it's still very debatable during this day and age, like whether or not he knew how to throw a working punch and just refused to,
mm-hmm.
or he legitimately just didn't know how to throw a working punch. That was part of the reason he was dubbed the Hands of Stone.
Right.
And people had a hard time working with him because when he went to throw a punch, it was a legit punch. He was trying to punch you. And so you had to be very careful that you didn't get knocked out in the fucking beginning of the match or the middle of the match, you know? It always made for interesting in-ring time with Ron Garvin. And again, you know, it's one of those situations where you have both of the Garvins at some point or other. They could have been referred to or booked as brothers, whether it was real or not. So
that roughneck style and how the Vachons retaliate to that.
Man,
this is going to be an interesting match.
I can guarantee you one thing: that match will take place all over the damn arena, and then some. You know, just because of the way those guys are. Up next, we have the number 6th seed in the Lucha Brothers.
Okay.
Taking on the 27th seed in the Freebirds.
Another clash of styles here, to say the least. Old school versus new school. I mean, but now, refresh my memory on which two members of the Freebirds we were using.
I believe we said Buddy and
Terry.
Yeah, Buddy and Terry. Yeah.
Okay.
Because neither you or I are too high up on Michael P.S. Hayes there.
No, yeah, no. And again, those two against Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix of the Lucha Brothers. Again, you got, you have a old school roughneck style. And
again, think about the dynamic of the match here. Like, it would be a completely different match if P.S. Hayes was involved.
Yeah.
I think there would be a lot more banter and like old school heel, to where with Buddy and Terry, you're getting like a lot more legit tough guy in the ring. And that I think for me anyway, you can disagree with me or agree with me, whatever. But for me, I think that's what makes this match interesting with this combination, because just I'm salivating at the possibility of watching Terry Bam Bam Gordy go up against someone like Pentagon Jr.
Oh yeah,
like holy shit. That's a match you'd have to watch in Japan to like really truly appreciate.
Yeah, it's going to be to see how it would be really good to see how Buddy and Terry break up the ring, start really take one of the members of the Lucha Brothers and go do this old school beat the shit out of one guy, make the other guy watch kind of mentality. Because a lot of times lately too, when you see the Lucha Brothers, it's a lot of quick tags, a lot of high face stuff. Yeah. This would be something out of their element for sure. So, I'm really excited about that one, because that's again, I love those clash of styles for sure.
Moving on, we have the 10th seed in Dory and Terry Funk taking on the 14th seed of the Malenko brothers, Dean and Joe.
Oh wow!
Yeah, this one is also really interesting because, again, although I think a lot of our audience would probably associate both these teams as old school, it's not really the case. Especially, obviously, Dory and Terry Funk have been around wrestling for fucking ever, or the that level of equation. But Dean and Joe Malenko really got their chops in wrestling in All Japan, working for All Japan.
Right.
And the Funks have wrestled in Japan quite a few times, but it isn't necessarily the same era when they're there. So that's what makes it interesting. You have this big generational gap in Japanese wrestling, and so it's not exactly the same kind of Japanese wrestling that the Funks got raised up through. That's what makes it interesting for me. And again, you're seeing smaller talent in Dean and Joe Malenko kind of sit and progress in a very strong style of wrestling. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Funk Brothers.
Sure.
They're tougher than fucking nails. So, but that to me, that's what makes the match interesting here.
Awesome. Can't wait for that one.
Up next, we have the 13th seed in the Headhunters. Excuse me, taking on the taking on the 3rd seed, the Briscoe Brothers, the Ring of Honor Briscoe Brothers. Holy fucking shit!
That's
I'm gonna
right
have
up
to
their
bring.
alley,
I'm gonna
right?
bring over the FMW DVD that I have,
Okay.
so that you can watch these guys in action. There's gonna be blood. There's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be buckets of blood, Matt.
From what you described, when I think of FMW, I think of guys like Sabu. He came from there before his ECW days.
You got to remember, FMW was a lot of shoot style, a lot of death matches, a lot of just fucking gore and violence. I mean, the women there, on that DVD I'm talking about, and I'll have to dig it up and throw it on the merch on our site. But there's a match between 2 women. I can't remember the women right off the top of my head. I apologize, but one of the competitors, she has like a mini scythe, and it's real. It's fucking real. And she's using it to cut up her opponent in the ring. Like, she's like raking it down her back. She's gouging it in the point in her. It's fucking bloody and gruesome. And that, like, the entire DVD is like that.
And then you bring in the Briscoes on top of that.
Yeah, who are not afraid of any of that.
I mean,
obviously, we don't get to see a whole lot of that with them, but
not anymore, at least.
Not anymore.
Sure.
But I remember being in Chicago, it's a Chicago Ridge, for a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, and that one is still kind of infamous in Ring of Honor history because they were taking on Steen and Generico. And it got very violent, super bloody. But then the Age of the Fall was just starting, and Jimmy Jacobs and company had stormed the ring at the end of the match, and they hung. I think it was it was Mark. They hung Mark Briscoe, and he was bleeding profusely at the time. So they hung him upside down in the ring, as a statement about like how powerful they were. And everybody was just in shock because here he is, he's bleeding bad. Not just, he doesn't have like a little scrape or anything. No, it's pouring out like a fucking faucet. There's a puddle of blood in the ring, and it's like, when is he going to pass out?
He's hanging upside down.
And he's hanging, on top of it. So, yeah, they are no strangers to ultra violence.
Yeah,
but that's what's going to make this match.
This is going to be an interesting match. The Briscoes are one of those teams that are very versatile, and but this is really rough. As far as if we're speaking old school, I guess this is right up their alley. So I'm excited. I'm excited about this match for sure.
Number 31. Alpha and Sika, the Wild Samoans, are going to take on number 17, the Von Erichs.
Which Von Erichs are we looking at here?
Oh, we decided it was going to be David and...
Because there's 2 Von Erich teams.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I think it's the originals. Yeah.
Okay.
So Alpha and Sika are taking on the original Von Erich tag team. David and I'm drawing a blank on the other one. My 40-year-old brain.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Are we doing Kevin?
Is it Kevin?
Yeah.
David and Kevin. Yeah.
David and Kevin.
David and Kevin. Okay.
This one, you know what? Depending on timing and everything, this might have happened actually in World Class Championship.
This sounds like something. They've had a lot of.
I mean, I know the Von Erichs have faced Samoans. I don't know if it was the original Alpha and Sika though.
Sure.
But yeah, this
should be a fun match regardless. So
absolutely,
really good teams.
Absolutely.
I look forward to that one too. I love these old school matches that we're getting to.
Number 9. The Rougeau brothers, the 9th seed, Jacques and Raymond taking on seed number 28, Ron and Don Harris.
The Harris brothers.
The Harris brothers.
Skull and 8 Ball.
You know what though? They're one of those tag teams. Speaking of Ron and Don Harris, they've been all over the damn place.
Yeah.
And everywhere they go, they've actually been a pretty solid tag team.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really complain when I talk about those two. Everywhere they've went, they've done a solid job. You know, obviously they're not your fucking main event tag team or anything like that, but even if they were in some hokey fucking like security guard style role, they did it and they did it well.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I can't take anything away from them. Yeah, I'll talk more about this matchup as it goes on.
Yeah.
But
I won't give too much away.
Yeah.
But the Rougeos are all American boys.
The number 11 seed, the original Hart Foundation of Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart are going to take on the 30th seed in the Valiants, which I believe we booked as Jimmy Valiant and Johnny Valiant.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, this possibly happened in. It probably would have happened in Stampede Wrestling,
Okay.
if at all. But there's a small possibility that this happened. So I'm excited.
Good solid wrestling match here.
Again, Jimmy Valiant is one of those guys, much like Ron and Don Harris, where no matter where he went, like, because for quite a hot minute there, he was probably one of the top guys in an early NWA. And obviously, as the 80s hit, I mean, he became, mid-card at best, and he became Jimmy Boogie Woogie and things like that. But originally, he was up there.
You know what I think of, who I compare him to, is that I compare him to like a Colt Cabana.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Like a good wrestler, but a very silly gimmick.
That's very fair to say. Absolutely. With the 8th seed, we have the Gorillas of Destiny taking on the 12th seed, the legendary Hall of Famers, Harlem Heat.
Man. That's disappointing that one of those teams got to be out in the first round.
Yeah, again, for what it's worth, old school versus new school.
Sure.
And, this is a damn shame that we're going to have to take one of these out. Fuck. I find myself not wanting to say too much.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to say about it, but I think it would give away who I think is going to win.
Yeah,
who I would have win. I will say this, Harlem Heat, I know, Booker T obviously went on to do bigger and better things as a singles wrestler, but Harlem Heat, man, if you guys are not familiar with Harlem Heat and what they've done for tag team wrestling, you can say all you want about Stevie Ray and what he's done as a singles wrestler. As a tag team, those guys mesh so well. And I get they're real brothers, but like they meshed in ways that other tag teams failed to do, especially in that era. So this is it is in GOD. I mean, all you gotta do is just watch wrestling today and see what they're doing. Those guys are just tearing it up everywhere they go. So really, really unfortunate that one of these teams is going to be gone after round one.
Speaking of unfortunate, our next two teams...
we got to change these brackets.
Dude, this is going to be crazy. So with the 5th seed, we have the Usos.
Okay.
Taking on the 16th seed in the Brothers of Destruction, Kane and The Undertaker.
Okay.
So...
Interesting. I'm going to be intrigued to see how far people have the Brothers of Destruction going because of The Undertaker. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is a tag team tournament.
Yeah.
Can the Brothers of Destruction mesh as well as a set of twin brothers? I mean, we'll find out, of course, but it's still interesting. You got a mixture of size versus... the Usos, which, to me, I don't like the characters. I especially don't like what they're doing now with the Uso Penitentiary, which they've been doing for a couple of years now. But when the bell rings, still, they have my attention.
Yeah,
most nights.
Again, I can't really say too many bad things about the Usos because they deliver.
Yeah,
and they're one of those teams who seem to rise to the occasion depending on who they're facing.
Yeah.
If they're facing a super legit tag team, they become super legit. Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah, they're kind of shitheads in real life, but inside that 20 by 20 ring, man, they are as legit as they come.
With the 32nd overall seed, we have Los Guerreros taking on the 23rd seed in the Bushwhackers.
Okay. Again,
one of those that could have possibly happened in world class,
especially as the Sheep Herders.
Yeah, or NWA.
NWA.
Yeah.
By the Guerreros, we're talking Eddie and Chavo.
Yes.
And by Chavo, again, we do mean Chavo Senior.
Chavo Classic.
Chavo Classic. Not Chavo Guerrero Jr., which he actually did team up with, but they are not brothers, so that does not count. Yeah, this is for those who have issues with the Bushwhackers being in here, just like with many other wrestlers that wrestled in WWE, don't take that WWE version of them. As the gospel.
Don't, because that's not what we're advertising here. When we mention any tag team, we're talking about them at their best.
Yeah. So maybe we should call them the Sheep Herders. I feel like
that's fair. Yes, that's absolutely fair. With the number 1 seed, the Hardy Boys, they're going to be taking on the 25th seed in the other Von Erich team.
Oh, interesting.
Of who's that? Is it Ross?
Ross and Marshall.
Marshall. I always forget Marshall's name.
That's those are Kevin's boys.
Those are Kevin's boys.
Kevin's boys. It would be interesting to see if they get to fight their dad in this tournament. I really like this one. Not that I don't like the other ones, but this one right here, Matt and Jeff versus another young team. Well, not that they're a young team anymore, the Hardys.
Right.
It's good. This one's really gonna be interesting. It's a good clash of styles, but there's a good mixture though too, because the Ross and Marshall have shown they also have high flying capabilities. They're good technical wrestlers. They're powerful as shit. And the Hardys, I mean, their track record speaks for itself. So this is definitely a really, really intriguing match. I'm really gonna have fun talking this one.
With the 20th seed, we have the original Briscoe brothers.
Okay.
Taking on
Jack and Jerry.
Taking on the 7th seed in Rick and Scott Steiner.
Man, that's going to be a wrestling clinic right there.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Definitely a wrestling clinic. That's really, especially if we're going, and I'm assuming we're going old school.
Sure.
Steiner Brothers here.
Like Steiner Brothers. Not, not fucking...
Yeah.
No fucking Papa Pump.
Yeah.
None of that bullshit.
Dog-faced Gremlin.
Yeah, no.
All that shit. Yeah, this is going to be a really good wrestling match. And the one thing, though, and this is not me spoiling anything because not so sure if this is going to matter at the end here, but one thing that I will say is, can the Briscoes slow the match down? Because the thing about the Steiners is that they are a great wrestling team, but if you go back and watch their old school shit, they really pick it up in ways that they tire their opponents out.
That's what steroids does to you.
Well, yeah. They were. Scotty was always a fucking meathead.
Oh, good lord! Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is good. That's a fun match right there. Good wrestling match.
With the 22nd overall seed, you have Billy and Bart Gunn taking on the 24th seed, the Basham brothers.
Okay.
All right.
Couple kayfabe brothers here.
Yep.
Kind of both had short runs.
Yeah.
But
relatively speaking, yeah.
I was never much of a fan at the time of the Basham brothers, but I think a lot of that was my age and them just being good heels. Because I hated them.
Yeah.
But if you go back and look at it, there's definitely some really good solid tag team work there with those two.
And finally, the 18th overall seed, the Dudley Boys, taking on the 2nd overall seed, Edge and Christian.
The rivalry renewed.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, this one has happened before. It's just kind of random.org had made it happen this way again. This is not going to be a bad match.
No,
not by any means. So I'm looking forward to it because you and I, although this is something that has happened before, one we've never really talked about it per se, and two we've never got to fantasy book this match.
No.
So
I'm going to be interested to hear you talk about Edge. Because I know he's not your favorite wrestler. And it's going to be great to talk about those damn Dudleys again because I really miss them.
I miss them too. Yeah, Edge. Speaking of Edge, he's supposedly trying out soon for the company.
That's definitely been rumored.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Apparently, he's in really good health and really good shape, and but I'm also not looking forward to him coming back. I wasn't big on Edge to begin with, at least as a singles.
His
wrestler.
Tag team stuff, definitely speaks for itself.
All day, every day. But his singles run, to me, he should have never held the title, a heavyweight title.
Ever? No. None of those title reigns did it for you?
No, he was always like IC champ at best for me.
Sure. That's fair.
Like if he were around today, the Universal title, much more his speed.
Yeah.
Even considering today's landscape. So.
Right. That's fair. But there you go. That's 32 teams.
32 teams booked for the first round, and obviously in the following weeks to come, you will hear us continue that tournament. But we're going to give you guys a whole week to sit and peruse what we just gave you to digest and come up with your own stuff. I'm chomping at the bit. There's a couple guys that I know right off the top of my head who listen to the show who I can't wait. I can't wait to hear what they have to say. Whether it be on social media or in person or text or what have you, but either way, I'm chomping at the bit here. So there it is, folks. Your official first round of the Good Brothers Tournament, the inaugural edition.
I love that name.
Yeah, and that's gonna do it for this week.
Absolutely. Yep.
We're all talked out, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean that's never really the case.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, but.
Just give it another week.
Yeah, you're right. In the meantime, please enjoy all the cool shows, including the brand new PCW Ultra Weekly show, The Mutiny.
Yes.
That's on Fight Network. That's 20x20crew.com/podcast/FITE for those of you who want $15 of free credit to watch any pay-per-view content on there,
including the upcoming Bound for Glory pay-per-view.
Absolutely, good dude,
coming from Villa Park, Illinois.
Odium. It's going to be something special. As always, we are available on social media. 20x20crew, Facebook.com/20x20crew is our official Facebook page. If you want to come talk to Matt and I, especially about this brand new Good Brothers Fantasy Tournament, please. Facebook.com/groups/20x20talk. Also, we are on Twitter. Hate tweet us at 20x20crew on Twitter. And again, on Instagram, we're always looking for photos, footage of events you have been to or about to be to. Instagram.com/20x20crew. And of course, the following contest is back, relaunched with the one and only Second City Saint Part 1, which seemed to go over well with you guys. I know a lot of you chomp at the bit for some CM Punk. Well, we gave you some, and we're not done yet, believe it or not. So you want to check out all the following contest fantasy bookings that Matt and I do. 20x20crew.com/podcast/YouTube will take you straight to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. We can use all the support that you can muster up as fans. Truly appreciate it. And I think 20x20 crew. I'm sorry, 20x20 crew@gmail.com. You can email us anytime with fantasy bookings, question, comments, concerns, and the like. And as always, 20x20crew.com, there it is, Joe, is our home on the web, where you can find all of our past episodes, merchandise, footnotes, questions, comments, the whole nine. It's all there, ladies and gentlemen. 84 weeks. We have officially beat Eric Bischoff's run.
Yes. I continue. Every week I look forward to sitting down and talking wrestling with you. And this has been great. It's always great. Absolutely, it is. Ladies and gentlemen, 84 weeks in the books, and we're not slowing down yet. So until then, I've been Matt. He's been Joe. You guys have been fantastic again. And until episode 85, we will see you in the ring.
Good brother.
This edition of the 20x20 Ring Crew has been brought to you by Amazon. Get your Amazon Prime subscription today. You get unlimited music, unlimited ebooks, unlimited movies and TV shows available through their Amazon Prime subscription, as well as free 2-day shipping on many products through Amazon.com, as well as in certain areas, 1-day shipping. So if you're an impatient person like me, you can get 1-day shipping. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, don't forget the unlimited photo storage, too. I think that's pretty
oh, absolutely.
I don't have anything on my photo storage as of yet, at least nothing I could share with the public, but
ooh.
It's photos of me and Kenny Omega. Are you jealous?
I don't even want to talk about it. Tell them where to go. That's all I got to say.
You can find more information on Amazon Prime subscriptions through us, and by doing so, you'll help us here at the show. You don't have to pay anything extra. You sign up for Amazon Prime through us. You get 30 days to try out Amazon Prime. You can cancel anytime. We still get the love from Amazon. Go ahead and check us out at 20x20crew.com/podcast/Amazon.